I'm more than ready. I'm more than excited. Hey, hey everyone, I'm Tim Allston, and welcome to the 10 Commandments of Leadership. This is where we do two main objectives with our show. Number one, what we do is we educate, we equip, and we empower emerging leaders with God thought leadership. And the other thing that we do that I'm very, very proud of, the other thing that we do is that we also present current events and newsmakers in the light of biblical best practices. Fair enough. Best practices from the Bible. So let's go. Let's see what we've got for today. Let's see what we've got for today. All right. What I did was I read an article this week. I thought it was a very, very convincing, a very powerful article. I read the article. It was in Inc. magazine. Inc. magazine. And it was an article, and I've entitled the episode after that article, Four Entrepreneurs Who Turned Setbacks into Success. Who turned setbacks into success. Um, and hopefully it's available today on LinkedIn, on Facebook, also on YouTube. So let's get started. Let's see where we are. Trying to configure these screens. There we go. Okay. In today's episode, entitled Four Entrepreneurs Who Turned Setbacks into Successes, we will explore how humble setbacks such as rejections, bankruptcies, and naysayers, for example, how they can become the catalyst for creativity, for growth, and service for the emerging leaders like you and like me. Just like turning bitter lemons into better, sweeter lemonade, and eventually and ultimately into the best, and that is the sweeter lemon meringue pie of a meaningful life. You're going to hear that analogy throughout this presentation. We will conclude this week of podcast by spotlighting four entrepreneurs from Inc. magazine's article on June 18th, which was on Wednesday. Yeah. All four were told by investors that they thought their ideas were, well, lemons. Yet each tested their faith, tuned down their egos, tuned their egos down, listened, pivoted, and emerged even stronger by turning those bitter lemons into better lemonade and ultimately into the very best, which is the even sweeter lemon meringue pie. Now, their four journeys offer real life object lessons for personal recovering for you and for me as emerging leaders. And once again, what I've said to you is a leader is not one because of their position or because of their title. That doesn't make you a leader. What makes you a leader are two ingredients: influence and relationships. Influence and relationships. That is what will make you a leader. So you are leaders in your home. You are leaders in your social, informal groups. You are leaders in your faith-based community. You're also leaders many times in your business or workplace. You don't need a title. You don't need a position, just influence and relationships. Let me go on. Our first example is a Katrina Lake, whose story can be summarized in one statement: let results be your megaphone. Let results be your megaphone. How's that? Let me explain. Katrina Lake faced doubt from every side. Founders scoffed at her idea to combine data science into fashion, citing her lack of Ivy League credentials and retail pedigree. But in that rejection, hear me now, in that rejection, she found clarity. She stopped chasing external validation, stopped chasing what other people thought, how other people could affirm her. Instead, she quietly grew her customer base, fine-tuned her algorithm, and let the data speak louder than the hype. Once again, she grew her database, she fine-tuned her algorithm, and she let her data speak louder than her hype. And what was the key takeaway? Like recovering egoholics, when we stop posturing and start delivering, showing consistent small wins, that's where the real transformation begins. Our character, like Katrina's algorithms, reveals itself in results, not in rhetoric. Got that? Then there's Evan Williams. Evan Williams watched his audio podcast concept crumble after Apple swooped in and added podcasts to its own iTunes platform. That moment could have crushed him. I mean, it was a case of David versus Goliath, but it didn't. Instead, he empowered his team to reimagine, rethink the whole process. For many of us, our new yes begins when we are told no. I have learned, and it's been my experience in life, that the difference between successful people and unsuccessful people is that successful people are willing to do what unsuccessful people are not willing to do. Let me say that again. My experience, my exposure, my observation has been the difference between successful people and unsuccessful people is that successful people are willing to do what unsuccessful people are not willing to do. And this was the case here with Evan Williams. He empowered his team to rethink, reimagine their process. That brainstorming birthed what is known as TWTTR, which everybody now knows as Twitter. You think Twitter is successful? I think it's pretty successful. It's now known as X. The key takeaway here is recovery demands letting go of dead ends, even if we love them and cherish them and hold them close to our heart. You got to know, as Kenny Rogers said, you got to know when to hold them, you got to know when to fold them. Often in recovery, it's not about abandoning faith or calling, but relinquishing control and being open to fresh sparks, new sparks that come out of old ideas. Your and my lemon meringue pie often lies in the side project that we initially ignored. Nothing is ever wasted. Now for our third case study, there is Sophia Amoruso, whose tagline should be authenticity is your asset. Authenticity is your asset. Sophia Amoruso's nasty gal soared, then crashed into bankruptcy in 2016, beset by lawsuits and internal chaos. But here's the pivot. She publicly owned her mistakes. She then wrote #GirlBoss and launched a platform empowering women, turning corporate collapse into a community. The key takeaway here is, as recovering egoholics, owning your own flaws rather than hiding them can shift shame into strength. Authenticity breaks chains. When we say, I messed up, here's what I learned, we become living leaven, empowering others to rise. You've heard me say before, particularly when I focused on brothers, men. According to D. Stuart Briscoe, in his writing on The Vulnerable Man, he said the 5 most difficult statements for a man to make, the modern man to make, are, I don't know, I was wrong, I was sorry, I need help, I'm afraid. Let me say that again. According to D. Stuart Briscoe, the 5 most difficult statements for modern men like me and my colleagues to make are these. I don't know, I was sorry, I was wrong, I need help, I'm afraid. When we men can begin to make these statements with regularity and with authenticity, sincerity, and say them consistently and say them readily and often, we build community. The community of our home, the community of our marriage, the community of our family, the community on the job. We build by saying these things. And let me just throw this in. It's a sidebar thing, but let me throw this in. Having been at church meetings, a church revival all week long called Camp Meeting here in Huntsville, I've learned something. I've noticed something. I saw some research several years ago. There was a study out of Switzerland that said when a young child is baptized and joins a church, 4% of that family will join the church with that child. When a woman joins a church, that number is not 4%, but 17%. But when a man joins a church, that number is not 4%, is not 17%, that number is 93%. 93% of the family will join the church because they are looking to that man as the leader. Think about that. Okay. All right. And finally, there's Jan Koum. I hope I'm pronouncing the name right. Koum, Koum, who's teaching us that rejection is redirection. Jan Koum's story began in hardship. He was a Ukrainian immigrant surviving on food stamps, rejected by Facebook, repeatedly turned down when pitching his ideas. Yet he and a business partner, Brian Acton, poured their energy into WhatsApp, fast, encrypted, and free. It grew virally, leading to Facebook in 2014 acquiring it for how much? $19 billion. The key takeaway? Rejection isn't failure, it's redirection. For those of us recovering egoholics, each no ain't a no, but it's a signpost. It's not a sentence. If we persist prayerfully and follow inner convictions, we can turn adversity into abundance until the pie is sweeter than we could ever imagine. So my question is, what are some core principles that we can learn from these 4 examples? Pivot with humility. Katrina changed tactics when validation failed. So we, surrendering our know-it-all posture, can listen, learn, and adjust. Lean into unpopular sparks. Evan's side projects thrived when the main venture collapsed. Our healing often comes about from unexpected places. Trusted friends, social, spiritual nudges, creative outlets. Number 3, own your story. Sophia showed that radical transparency can be a catalyst, not a liability. Recovery thrives on honesty. And finally, sustain resilience. Like Jan, even from life's extremes, we can reframe hardship as fuel for legacy. Don Shula, ever heard the name before? Don Shula coached his Miami Dolphins to the only undefeated season in NFL history, 17 wins, no losses, including winning the 1973 Super Bowl. But to me, he is most legendary for his advice for us as emerging leaders, what I call the Don Shula 24-hour rule, and that is whether it's the or defeat, 24 hours. Whether it's the euphoria of the breakthrough or the failure, dwelling beyond a day drains that lemon meringue pie from its sweetness. For us, this means celebrate small wins, but don't idolize them. Sit losses, but don't wallow in them. Focus on the next step. Katrina, Evan, Sophia, and Jan, their low points. They learned, pivoted, and kept marching. They lived the 24-hour rule. Someone once asked Oscar award actor Denzel Washington, what was his best role in a movie? He thought for a moment, and then he answered, my best role? The next one. The next one. Recovering egoholics can reclaim failures not just as lemons, but as the sweeter lemon meringue pie. God gives us bitter trials or lemons We can squeeze them and sweeten them with humility, counseling, prayer, and feedback for better lemonade. But then there's lemon meringue pie. The fullest expression of a renewed vision is delicious, layered, and transformative. And we call it lemon meringue pie. The 4 entrepreneurs that I featured today modeled that journey from the bitter lemon to the better lemonade to the best, the lemon meringue pie. They didn't just survive the squeeze from the lemon into lemonade. Instead, they layered their experiences with trust, teamwork, and storytelling and rose to prominence, or the lemon meringue pie. So here's your recovering action plan for today and this weekend. Number 1, check your ego. Are you posturing or are you producing? Number 2, listen well to your mentors, to the marketplace, but more importantly, to your gut. What is your gut telling you? Number 3, pivot courageously when needed. Number 4, own your story, your own narrative, warts and all. And number 5, follow the Don Shula 24-hour rule. Rest and regroup in the 24 hours following either victory or defeat, and then return to the playing field. If Katrina, if Evan, if Sophia, Jan can do it, then so can you, and so can I. From lemons to lemonade to lemon meringue pie, your story is still cooking. It's still in the oven, and it can feed more souls than you will ever know. Thanks for listening, and thanks for joining me in this journey. Let this journey continue. I hope that I've dropped some pearls on you that will last you, not just for today, but for the weekend, but not just for the weekend, for the rest of your life. Follow the 24-hour rule. I once heard it said by General George Patton from World War II. True leaders cannot dwell on victory or defeat for any great length of time. It's a pretty good rule to follow. Look at the examples that I've given you of Katrina, of Evan, of Jan, and of Sophia, how they turn those bitter lemons into lemonade. Matter of fact, you and I need to get to the point sometimes of thanking people, maybe not audibly, but inside. Thank you for turning me down. Thank you for rejecting my idea. Thank you for telling me go back to the drawing board, because in that process is where we come to our solutions. As I love to say, as I once read, trouble never comes to someone without a nugget of gold in its hand. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And if what I've said to you has inspired you, if it's informed you, if it's encouraged you, then please like it, share it, and subscribe to it. Share with a friend. And I'll see you on Monday, where we'll begin a whole new week of lessons for us emerging leaders as we battle against the egoholisms in our life. The inflated egoholisms such as braggadocio, conceit, arrogance, I know it all, poor listening, and the deflated egoholisms such as low esteem, no esteem, feelings of inadequacy, insecurity, imposter syndrome, self-loathing. As we keep turning to God, the author and finisher of our faith, and where our journey to recovering begins. Thank you. Enjoy your weekend. Bye-bye.